So, a lot of you play sports. And, Miss H, why are you talking about sports? There's a math reason. Trust me, there's always a math reason. So, a lot of you play sports, and if you play, like, I don't know, if you do skateboarding. Let's say you do skateboarding, or you do, let's say, snowboarding. A lot of you do that, I think. You often hear those people say like, oh wow, I just did a cool 180 or did like a really sick 360. Cool. But what does that mean? So when people say 360, what they're talking about is a circle. But Miss H, yesterday we were talking about clocks. Why are we talking about circles? Because a clock is a circle. A clock is a circle. And a clock is a good way to show you what 360 means. So 360 is the measurement of degrees. What's degrees? Degrees is how you measure an angle. So there are 360 degrees in a full circle. So if I go like this with my pen, and I start from this point, and I go all the way around the circle, I just did 360 degrees of rotation. Wow, Miss H, that sounds weird. The reason they came up with it was because we came up with this clock system, and it's this whole system of sixes, and they like 360 because it's a composite number. Remember we said a composite number was one that can be divided by many, many things. So rather than, or many, many numbers. So rather than picking like 23, which can't be divided by anything, they pick 360 because it can be divided by so many numbers. 2, 6, 90, 4, 180. All these numbers divide into 360. So it would make figuring out angles really easy. So let's talk about how the clock, our clock, connects to 360 degrees. Well, as we know before, we have a clock and it looks like this. Here are our numbers on the clock. And if I said I went, let's say, like this, I made a 90-degree angle, so there would be like a little box here. How do I figure out that it's 90 degrees? Well, first of all, we went 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I don't know why. I don't know why I can't speak. We went 1, 2, 3 gaps, so that's 3. And how many is that out of? It's out of 12. 3 out of 12. Okay, so, well, let's simplify it. What does 3 out of 12 simplify? Well, you divide by 3 and you get 1/4. I went 1/4 of the way around. Well, now I want to try and figure out how many degrees that is. If I went 1/4 of the way around and I have to divide to get how many degrees is part, because this is just breaking it into a fourth, so we're breaking it into parts, I start with 360 and I divide by 4 because it's 1/4. We have 4 pieces left over. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to divide by 4 and find out how many degrees are in this angle. Well, 4 divided by 3 we can't do. So we extend it out to 36. 4 divided by 36, and I just dropped that, is 9. 9 times 4 is 36, but I still have a 0. I have to bring him down. 4 goes into 0, 0 times. There's 90 degrees in a fourth right here. So that means that 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 must make 360. That's what division is. So 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 makes 360. And if you want to check that, add 90 4 times. 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90. And I'll bet you it's 360 if you do your math right. Now, Miss H, how are we going to turn this into fractions? What is it? I'm not understanding. Well, that's a good question. So we know that in a circle there's 360 degrees, and there can be parts of a circle. You may not turn a whole circle. So when you're doing 360 degrees, somebody may say, oh, you only turned part of a circle. Rather than spinning yourself all the way around and coming back to face the camera, you only did this. Well, that would mean that we went sum of the 360, and you can pick a number. Let's say we did 10 degrees. We would put the 10 on top and the 360 at the bottom. Let's say we did 40 degrees. We can put a 40 on top and the 360 at the bottom. It means that you're only going a little sliver of the 360, and you didn't finish the rest. So, let's try and find the measure of an angle. So we already know that 90 degrees is a right angle. But what about the other angles? How do we find it? Well, we're going to draw our clock, right? And we're going to have the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9, and then I'm going to fill in the rest so that it doesn't look terrible. There we go. It's asking for a straight angle. Find the measure of a straight angle. Well, we remember straight angles. We remember angles from last time. So we have a 90-degree angle, which looks like this. It's straight up, straight across, 90 degrees. We have an obtuse angle, an acute angle, and then a straight angle is us doing this. I don't know. Straight angle, straight across. And we can make that straight angle in any direction. So I'm going to make mine like that. Straight angle. It's straight line, just like its name. They want to know how many degrees are in a straight angle. Well, first I'm going to use my 12s. How many pieces of the 12 is here? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 pieces of the 12. So that's 6 over 12. I have 6 pieces out of my 12 shaded in. And we know that 6 over 12, just by looking at this clock, it looks like the clock is cut in half. So 6 over 12 must be 1 over 2. Okay, Miss H, but we just found 1 over 2. We know that half the clock is filled in. Who cares? What does that matter? Well, it matters because we know there's how many degrees in a circle? 360. 360 degrees in a circle. And we used half of them. Sounds like we gotta divide by 2. You use that bottom number. So we're gonna divide by 2. Boom. Sorry that it's a little weird, but 2 divided by 360. And if you do the math, you know that 3 goes into 2. 2 goes into 3. 1 time 2. My math is going to be small because I'm using a single whiteboard. 1, bring down the 6, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, start all over again. 2 goes into 16. How many times? Skip count by 2 and you'll find it's 8. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, start all over again. I've got one more number, a 0. How close can 2 get to 0? As close as 0. So 2 times 0 is 0. There are 180 degrees in this circle. So to go over those steps again, let's do that one more time. Let's do that one more time. We're just splitting these up. We're splitting up our circle and then we're dividing by the bottom number. Split up your circle, simplify to make your life easy, and then divide by the bottom number. So, let's try this one. Instead of going at a straight angle, let's say they give you how many, I'm trying to erase my clock without erasing my numbers. Let's say the question says, find the measure of, let's see. You know what? I'm just going to pick any numbers. Forget that. Let's say we got to find the measure of, and I changed it up on you guys. Now we're not starting from 12. Now we're starting from a different number. But it doesn't matter. So, we are finding the measure of this angle here. Interesting. So it goes from 11 to 4. That's the angle it's pointing at. Our first step, how many pieces out of 12? Step 1, how many pieces out of 12? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces out of 12. I write that on the side. Let's make this easier, actually. Let's pretend it's 4. Let's make this easier as an example problem. This way I don't confuse some of you. We've got 4 pieces out of 12. Let's pretend. 4 pieces out of 12. All right? Our next step is to do what? We can't leave it like this. We need to simplify. 4 out of 12 becomes what? We have to divide. Well, if we divide by 2, I would get 2 out of 6. Can I divide further? Yeah, you want to make sure that top number is a 1. It's not a 1 yet. Let's make that top number a 1 so I can divide again by 2. That becomes, divide by 2, 1 over 3. Now that top number is a 1, I can use it. Remember unit fractions. We love that top number being a 1. Makes it easy to work with. Here's my 1 at the top. Oh, how many do I divide by? 360 in a circle. But what number do I divide by to get my degrees? 3, because 3 is at the bottom of this fraction. We don't care about the 1. You put the 3 over here. 3 divided by 360, we get 1. Let's see if I can write a 2 upside down. 120. 120 degrees. I know this concept is confusing. I know that it's not exactly straightforward, that we can't see this math, because you can't see the 360 degrees in a circle. But I promise you, if you think about it not as something that you can see, but something that exists that you can't see, something imaginary, you'll be able to see those degrees. Now, one more time, the steps are, count how many pieces of the circle. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 gaps. There's 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap, 4 gaps. All right, so we have 4 over 12 because there's 12 numbers on a clock. Simplify it until you get to 1 on the top. So you can't leave it at 2 over 6. You got to keep going. 1 at the top to make your life easy. Now we have 1/3. We're not done. Doesn't tell us how many degrees. 360 in the whole circle? How many in this little bitty part? I don't know. So I'm going to take that 3, divide 360 by that bottom number on the fraction, and get my degrees. Get my degrees. 120. You do this every single time. Every single time. And that is our lesson for today. See you later.